Everything is inevitable. From the day you were born to the moment you clicked on this video, it was all meant to be. The people you meet, the choices you make, they all lead to one ultimate finale in which you play a part.
And we danced, and we cried, and we laughed, and had a really, really, really good time. Take my hand, let's have a blast, and remember this moment for the rest of our lives.
Watanuki is a teenager living in present-day Japan among the long-limbed stick figures that have taken over the earth. Other than having a body comparable to spaghetti and the head the size of a pea, he leads a normal life. You know, the normal parentless life, where you've been living alone in an apartment for the majority of your days, in a world where Child Protective Services would not try to put you in a home because you are definitely under the age of 18 and totally don't need a guardian. You know, same old, same old. However, Watanuki has a secret. Watanuki is born with the rare ability to dead people. Well, not only dead people. He is actually able to see the unseen parts of the world, which is made up of several spirits, from talking foxes to Zashiki Watashi and this. Because of this power, spirits are automatically attracted to him like a magnet. But honestly, who wouldn't be attracted to this sexy beast? And because of this fatal attraction, these spirits constantly haunt him day and night, and he's in constant danger of I really don't know what's going on here. However, that all changes when he stumbles upon the mysterious witch Yuko, who is also gifted with the ability to see spirits. She is also the owner of a shop that grants wishes, for a price. Depending on a wish, a payment of equivalent value must be given, which totally does not sound like another anime with the same concept. Fullmetal Alchemist. Yuko offers our protagonist the opportunity of ridding himself of the spirits, but in return, he has to work for Yuko at the shop until the payment is finished. After a sequence of misunderstandings, yelling, over-attached spirits, and Yuri twins, Watanuki finally agrees to be Yuko's slave. I mean employee. The series continues with the episodic adventures of Watanuki and his godlike power. Plot-wise, this story is familiar. A boy cursed with a gift that no one else seems to have, cursed daily to live in fear of otherworldly creatures. Can someone give me a sixth sense? I see dead people. However, whether or not this plot has been done before does not mean that the show can't take a new perspective on it. Right. If you hadn't already noticed, Watanuki is our main man in terms of the show. He is the usual orphan protagonist who's been living alone since he was like 8. Does all the housework while somehow keeps up with his classes and retains a part-time job. Totally normal. To describe Watanuki is like describing a cat with a bear trap attached to its tail and a megaphone strapped to its mouth. Loud! I know that Todd Habercorn must have had a sore throat after this performance because this guy must have spent a third of the show screaming. And I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing because his over-the-top reactions usually plays for the comedy throughout the show. Though it can be overdone, you will usually get a good laugh per episode from the most cold-hearted person after seeing this guy react to the world and the characters around him, including Domiki, the silent friend and probably the most down-to-earth character in the whole show, our Mori look-alike here, seriously, they're like twins, is born with the rare ability to repel spirits, which counters Watanuki's ability to attract them. This becomes the basis of the relationship between the two, which is strained, to put it lightly. Watanuki often believes Domiki to be the attention hog and a potential rival in the face of the sweetheart Himawari. However, Domiki's reasons for befriending Watanuki is, all in all, with his well-being in mind. But our hero usually misreads this, which leads to his incessant whining, which is why the relationship works. The polarity of these two works like an Abbott and Costello act, with Domiki as the straight guy and Watanuki as the comic. Our other character of merit would be Yuko. She is the boobs, our witch, our designated philosopher for the show, a drunk, and the boobs. Woman power! Her main role is to make Watanuki do jobs which leads to the plot for most of the episodes, or act as the theorist, giving a lesson after each one of Watanuki's adventures, kind of like a Sonic Says. Remember kids, always obey superstitions or else you'll become a cowman. I didn't take anything, I swear.
That's no good.
The formula is as follows. Watanuki, for some reason, meets a creature of the spirit world, usually because of an errand Yuko has him run, or because of his own curiosity. This results in him going on an adventure and finally leads to some lesson that our witch Yuko has to explain, which is the first problem of our series. The XXX in XXX Holic stands for a blank, meaning that each episode is supposed to deal with some problem leading ultimately to some philosophical lesson that is supposed to make the viewer think. It's along the lines of Mushishi. However, unlike Mushishi, they don't try to leave the viewer with something to think about. Instead, they beat us over the head with some long drawn-out explanation about what the show is supposed to be about. This is where Yuko comes in. By the end of every episode, we get a wrap-up with her giving the lesson of the day. The reasons for doing this could be the creators. 1. They didn't want to confuse the viewer. 2. The episodes were so convoluted they needed a personal interpreter. 3. They wanted to make sure that we understood that the episodes had more meaning than a spaghetti boy that was able to see spirits. 4. They just used these moments to waste time in an episode. Take your pick. I think it's number 4. Throughout the course of the show, you can meet several more characters, but most of them are not reoccurring, and the first time you see them will be the last. It's to be expected with the show's episodic nature. Now, as for animation, I am not a fan of the character designs. The rule of thumb when drawing characters is to make them 8 heads high. XXX Holic, on the other hand, takes this rule and throws it out the window. But this is just the style of Clamp, the group that made this show. They do this with just about all their shows, and this is probably the worst example of how it's used. It's almost like everyone was put on a rack and stretched to the length of Slender Man. And speaking of racks, my god, Yuko! You make Barbie jealous! Your height, your waist size, your boob size! It's almost like the inspiration for a design was 2 watermelons stuck to a pole! And the character designs would be okay if it had a bit more fluid animation, but the show must have had a low budget because these characters' movement is a bit spastic, to say the least. I will admit that the backgrounds can be nice and fit the tone of the show very well, but once again, they cut a lot of corners when it comes to movement, meaning that the once interesting art style becomes this. Overall, it's passable. The music, in contrast, is the complete opposite. The opening song is amazing with the cool, almost mysterious feel that fits the tone of the show. The ending song is kind of generic, but it's still likable. On the other hand, the second song is something really to enjoy. As for the background music, it's great. It does not have many standalone tracks, but it's a nice complement to the show and works well with the comedic moments and the more darker points. In terms of dub, it does not disappoint. Remember how I said Watanuki yells a lot? Well, as annoying as it can be, you can tell the character is supposed to do this, and Top Habercorn does a really good job of portraying the screaming parts while making it interesting. The other voice actors choose to act more down to earth with their voice acting, balancing out the crazy antics of our hero. Overall, this is a could-be show. The show tries to be thought-provoking, and it can be a lot of the times, but it's kind of annoying when you have Miss Lessing of the Day telling you what to learn rather than actually interpreting it yourself. The characters are fun, but nothing amazing, much like the show. However, the relationship between Domeki and Watanuki is something that has a lot of merit, and I do give the show props for making this interesting duo. It could have been something really profound.
However, it falls flat in the pit of mediocrity, just missing the mark.
This is a show that you watch because you don't have anything to do. A time waster, if you will. Though it may not reach the standards of Kino's Journey, it does make one think. Moreover, the show never gets deep into the things you want it to. How did Watanuki's parents die? How does it tie into his mystical powers? What is the purpose of Himawari? What is Yuko's backstory? What is this? Why doesn't the show have a bigger budget? And why am I talking like this? Whatever the case, the show leaves you wanting more, and not in a good way. As for the final verdict. After watching this piece of art, I have carefully calculated the rating of this show based on its plot, characters, animation, music, and my overall enjoyment, giving it a final score of 6.5 Pac-Man ghosts out of 10. Also, if you found enjoyment in this series, I would recommend that you try out Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, Kino's Journey, or Mushishi. I'm sure that out of one of these 3 shows, you will find something that you enjoy. There is a second season to this series, however, that's a review for another day. I am Bradley101, ending this review because it was inevitable.
Feels like a night for a party. My niche, so naughty. There's a knock on the door, it's the neighbors. Quit cock blocking, we're having a holdout. You hose down, don't let me pull my hose out. Cause it's big, long, pink, strong. I've been known that